Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Brattleboro Selectboard meeting for July 7th. Thank you all for coming. The Select Board entered train station ribbon cutting event on June 24th, and I wanted to thank everyone who contributed to making that a really great day in Brattleboro. And not to diminish anyone else's contributions, but I did want to make a special mention of thanks to Jessica Stickler in the town manager's office, who went above and beyond in helping put that together, and also enormous gratitude to the Vermont Jazz Center and the Youth Jazz Ensemble for really classing it up and making for an outstanding event that day. For the August 11th state primary elections, mailed ballots are available by request. Please request a ballot through your voter portal or by calling or emailing the town clerk's office. You may also stop by the clerk's office downstairs to pick up an absentee ballot for yourself only. In-person early voting will begin on Monday, July 13th during normal business hours, as long as they're able to have two election officials in the town clerk's office. The town clerk's office is aware that some ballot packets for this election were sent out to District 8 residents without the ballots in them. If you received a packet but are missing your ballot, please visit the town clerk's office in person or contact the town clerk by phone or email. To receive a new packet, you will need to sign an affidavit, which can also be emailed to you, and they apologize for the inconvenience. That's all I had. Thank you, John. Select Board member comments. Isaac, any comments today? Amanda?
Yeah, also I want to express deep gratitude in addition to the train station, the great 4th of July parade, the activities at Living Memorial Park, the fireworks. I had the honor of assisting Carol with doing some cash raising for the fireworks, and was very thankful to the citizens and neighbors who attended, who contributed to our town fund for that.
Thank you, Amanda. Peter?
Just want to address the birthing center a little bit. I know we're talking about it later, but just to make everybody aware that there really is a really highly active group of people, community leaders, addressing the situation, in contact with BMH, as well as just kind of reaching out. So I just, in case that missed anybody, I just wanted everybody to know that that is very actively happening, is really a high priority list on all of those involved.
Thank you. Nell?
You guys have covered everything.
Great. Thanks, everyone. We're going to open public comment now. Welcome, everyone. This is the section of the meeting where members of the public are welcome to comment on anything not otherwise warned on the agenda. If you'd like to speak and you're in the room, please raise your hand and I'll call on you, and then come up to the microphone, state your name, and you have 3 minutes to make a comment. If you're on Zoom, please use the raise hand feature, and Seth will find you and let me know that you're waiting. So anyone with a public comment today? Dick and then Kate.
Yes, Dick DeGray, Brattleboro. I wanted to thank town staff and the O'Connor family for continuing the tradition of the 4th of July parade. People with short institutional memories forget that the Chamber of Commerce used to do the parade and do the fireworks with a lot of help from Vermont Yankee and then Entergy. And that all dried up about 16 years ago. And the O'Connor family took it upon themselves to keep the tradition going. I'm not here to defend the O'Connor family. I don't need to do that. They can certainly do that for themselves. But I was really disappointed in community members who took it upon themselves to trash the parade. Small town parades are what they are. Who's in them and participate in them are who you are. If you want to be in the parade, you contact the O'Connors. The money's dried up for bands, which people were talking about. We don't have bands, we don't have this. Well, what you need to do is write a check, volunteer, make a float, get involved. I get tired of people talking about stuff that is really irrelevant. We have issues in our town, and the 4th of July parade and its festivities aren't one of them. Now, when I have issues with something, I come here and I talk about them. And if people want to complain about what's going on or not going on in town, they should come here. And they should say, you know what? We'd like you to add $50,000 to our budget next year so we can really have an extravaganza for the 4th of July, or 100,000, the number, whatever the number is that you want to put in. But don't criticize people who volunteer their time to make something that's been going on for longer than I can remember being in our community, and I'm appreciative of it. I'm appreciative of the Legion Band still being in the parade. I'm appreciative of all the people that participate. It's fun to see it. I don't call it hokey, I call it small town parade, and I appreciate the fact that we still have something we can go to on the 4th of July. And I thank the O'Connor family for that. Thank you.
Thanks, Dick. I appreciate those comments. Kate O'Connor?
Hi, everybody. I'm Kate O'Connor, Brattleboro. I didn't mean to follow Dick on this, but on behalf of my brother and sister and our 3 nephews, who are the next generation of doing the downtown parade, I just want to thank the town staff that were instrumental in helping us, because we are just a bunch of volunteers that do this, and we could not do it without Parks and Rec, the police department, the fire department, and DPW. So we really want to thank them for their ongoing support. I want to thank everybody who came to be in the parade, everybody who watched it, the little kids in their red, white, and blue outfits when you go down and see them. It's cute. It was great. We had a great time. I appreciate the 6 of you, because all of you were in the parade on top of that big dump truck. So thank you to everybody who made it happen. And it was great. And as Dick said, if you want to get involved, you can email us at brattleborogoesforth@gmail.com. If you want to make a contribution, you can email us at brattleborogoesforth@gmail.com, and we'll give you the information, because we are a community and a community parade, and I think it's important to keep it going, to celebrate nice things. So thank you so much to, again, everybody that works for the town of Brattleboro that made it happen.
Thanks, Kate. Other comments in the room? Angela?
Water.
Angela Earl Gray.
Marcel Maxwell.
So we are here talking about an initiative that wasn't necessarily founded as Next Generation Brattleboro, but more empowered. We had a small group of business owners in West Brattleboro that were already starting to talk a little bit about, gee, if we all knew each other better and were looking for places where our interests aligned, we could be supporting each other and we could all be lifting each other up. And we always kind of meant to put time towards it, and the kind of getting the blessing of, yes, that would be good to do, and it would be good to move forward with us. This moved us forward. And we've put together an event that's coming up in August. You want to tell more?
Put together Community Day, West Brat Community Day, August 22nd. Me and Angela, we're gonna get some businesses in West Brattleboro together to sponsor and be a part of it. So it's gonna start at from Thrifton all the way to Saffron Restaurant, and it's gonna be a few different locations where people can stop and support what we have going on at each location.
Yeah, so there's going to be 4 main locations. One is Vermont Epicurean is letting their field be used for a craft and flea market that's going to happen during the day. We're going to be doing karaoke with Simon Diamond at night at Saffron out on the deck. Hoping people show up for that. I'm forgetting some important things. What else? There's going to be some demos at Pale Horse and at Yankee Dog. We're
Free free mac and cheese for the first 50 customers at 802 South.
Free clothes swap at Thrifting New England, and I forgot the big one I forgot, and it was really important, which is that Tri-Park is going to be hosting free family activities and kids activities, and A-Plus Rentals is giving them a bouncy house to use as part of it, and there's some other community groups that are coming forward to help support those efforts. Big news we've got this week was we found a sponsor that will cover half the cost of free van transportation between the housing complexes in West Brattleboro and where the activities are being run. So we're looking for a second sponsor for that. Only $500 and you'll get your name on the van. But want to thank the town for their support. There's also just been a lot of people who've reached out with, we are supportive of this. Who can we introduce you to? How can we help you? Including, again, a couple members of the select board, members of the town, also other members of the community. Couldn't thank them all and have it fit in our time frame. We'd feel like an awards show. But we'll definitely you'll be seeing sponsors. All About Trees is one that's doing the transportation. So wanted to tell you all about it.
Great.
I am not going to be able to stay for the whole meeting, so I just want to say in advance I'm disappointed. I can't tell you how much I hope that we continue to support the birthing center later.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Other comments? Yes, Ken.
Thank you, Ken Fay, District 8. I spoke a couple months ago, I think, about seeing if there was a possibility of getting a FOIA listing to be made public so that, you know, if somebody had a FOIA request, somebody else doesn't have to make another one. Has that gotten any legs? Has that gone anywhere that you're aware of?
I don't think there have been any developments on that front.
No.
But I can look into it with John after the meeting and get back to you, Ken.
Okay, would it be appropriate if I made a request to see to the public if somebody has requested what I'm thinking of requesting?
If you made a request to,
Here, if I ask the public, people watching, as somebody.
if you have a comment to make, you're welcome to make it. I can't guarantee the results.
Okay, if anybody who's listening, or anybody knows of anybody who has asked for the Golden Cross contract, I'm interested, in not filling out a FOIA. If you have a copy of it, I'll defer the cost that you have paid or something like that. That's it.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ken. Any other comments in the room? Seth? All right, then we're going to move on to the consent agenda for today. John, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yep, thanks, Oscar. So we have 13 items on the consent agenda tonight. If the select board approves this agenda, you'll be approving a first-class liquor license for Saffron Restaurant LLC located at 487 Marlborough Road, a new location. You'll be approving a first-class liquor license for Love Heart Larry's LLC located at 485 West River Road. You'll be renewing a second-class liquor license, tobacco license, and tobacco substitute endorsement permit for Yazzie Market, Inc., located at 328 Marlborough Road. You'll be renewing a second-class liquor license for KHP Drugs, Inc., also known as Kinney Drugs, located at 499 Canal Street. You'll be approving 10 one-time outside consumption permits for India Masala House, located at 7 High Street. You'll be approving the town's record retention policy. You'll be awarding a $17,309 bid for the Rec and Parks 2011 compact tractor replacement to Grassland Equipment of Latham, New York, which was approved as part of the FY27 capital plan. You'll be awarding a $45,857 bid for the Rec and Parks 2015 Ford 350 replacement to Formula Ford of Rutland, which was approved as part of the FY27 capital plan. You'll be approving the final error and emission changes to the 2026 grand list. You'll be approving an updated contract with Wyndham Solid Waste Management District for the delivery of food waste and organic materials consistent with your new solid waste management plan. You'll be awarding total project bids amounting to $38,533 for the DPW HD2 vehicle and associated snowplow replacement to Formula Ford of Rutland and to Vassar's Auto Service in Greenfield, which both projects which were approved as part of the FY27 capital plan, and a $60,276 bid for the replacement of 2 DPW utility vehicles to Alderman's Auto Group through the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Program, which were also approved as part of the FY27 capital plan. You'll be authorizing the permanent abandonment of 3 wells at the Retreat Wells facility off Route 30, which are no longer needed, including award of a $41,295 bid to Barry Miller's Well and Pump Service to properly seal those wells in accordance with the FY27 capital improvement plan. And finally, you'll be accepting and appropriating a $32,157 grant of state opioid settlement funds that the Brattleboro Fire Department applied for to develop and implement a community training program which will provide hands-on training to community members to improve emergency preparedness and reduce the impacts of opioid-related emergencies.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Any board members wish to remove anything from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I would accept a motion.
I'll motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, Peter has moved to accept the consent agenda as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That carries 5-0. All right, let's move ahead to regular business. Item A, the Exit 3 Landscape Improvement Proposal. I think we have a guest and a presentation.
Yep, so we have CJ Jack with us. CJ, would you want to join us at the side table here? As the next gen Brattleboro conversation started, a number of projects like Angela Earl Gray described for West Brattleboro came forward, and people were looking for support and engagement to try to do good things for our town. And CJ brought an idea for improving the Exit 3 Rotary area, and he wanted to present this idea to the select board to see if he can get your support to bring this to V-Trans and see if we can get a good, nice project done. So CJ.
Hi, everyone. I'm CJ Jack from Monadnock Ford. We purchased Ford of Brattleboro in February of 2025. Yes, as part of Next Gen Brattleboro, it's nice to see all your friendly faces here for a project that I really took to heart, because I think that the gateway to the state of Vermont is the first thing that people see when they come off Route 91 or Route 9. I'm the first one to tell you that I'm kind of putting this together bit by bit, and I'm going to need all of your input to bring it to a successful completion. So I literally grabbed it by my own and just started putting things together, and I appreciated all of your input, especially for items that can go in it for low maintenance, like blueberry bushes. Thank you, John. And so if you've driven around the circle recently, you realize that it is need of care, general care. There are a lot of things that I did not know walking into this with V-Trans that, unlike other states, you can't have it so you can see over it. It's illegal. You have to have a blockage, so that's why the trees are so tall. But also from a maintenance standpoint, if you drove by it today, you realize that they, or the town, or I don't know who funds the care of it now, but the approach islands and the grass around it haven't been mowed in some time, and we learned that last year as well. We're also, as a dealership, not allowed to mow it ourselves. I think it's V-Trans that does it, and they do it on a set budget and a set time schedule. So what I want to accomplish through this meeting tonight, through a 3-step process, is to have the Town of Brattleboro Selectboard approval, because V-Trans said that they will then give us a landscaping architect from the state who does its job about recommendations for cleanup in general and maintenance going forward. We learned in the past, the recent past, that the ladies auxiliary, either through veterans or the community, used to plant flowers there and take their own initiative to maintain it. But of that, after COVID just went away, as many things went away after COVID. So I have drawn up a plan where we would have a cooperative nature between V-Trans, Brattleboro Career Center's forestry students, private sponsors such as ourselves. I'm the first to tell you, I don't know where funding will come from, but I look at this project and thought, well, if we all put our heads together, I'm certain we can figure this out. So I haven't gone any further than that for fundraising. I don't know what's available, maybe there's nothing available. And then municipal part of the DPW and V-Trans to give us their best input for regional infrastructure and how best to do it. We also learned that there's federal laws here about what you can have to decorate it. You can't paint the borders of it, you can't do certain things, but you can create markers. You can paint the base of the road and make it more colorful. I would like to somehow add a second sign that is on the New Hampshire entrance side under the bridge, so people understand this is the gateway to Vermont. We're very proud of it. This is the first thing you're going to see as you come across every day. And I think you would agree that it's one of the more heavily traveled circles in the state, possibly, right? I mean, it's got to be 10, 20,000 cars a day, and that visibility goes a long way into the genesis of Next Generation Brattleboro, what people experience when they come into town. So that's generally what I'm trying to accomplish. So the last page of this was phase 1 is approvals and the select board endorsement so that the state architect can review it and the state can take a look at what should happen next. Is that concise enough? Okay.
Great. Thank you, CJ. That was an excellent presentation. An exciting idea. Let's start by opening it up to the board. Anyone with any questions for CJ? Not seeing. I have one question for you. I'm curious if you're envisioning anything in terms of, for private funders, anything in terms of like sponsorship markings or advertising or anything like that?
I haven't given that a lot of thought. My primary goal was so that it would have a welcome or gateway to Vermont or welcome to Brattleboro on both sides. The sign that is already in existence off the 91 exit has a circle that had some type of seal in it, but it's no longer there. I'd like to look into improving that, that's all. I think sponsorship is very thoughtful discussion on what or how it could look like. But our genesis was simply to bring Brattleboro colorfully to life in that moment when they first get here, and then we could look at that. I know that safety markings, which are black, yellow, and gold in various sizes, can be added. But obviously, I know the state's going to say, or the V-Trans, they don't want distractions. I get that. So I think that's a discussion we should continue to have, what that would look like.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so I think it would be great to see something done there, and I really appreciate you, taking the initiative and coming to us with this. It's an exciting idea.
So yes, with your blessing this evening or in the near future, then who communicates that to V-Trans to get started?
So I think what we'll do is
We
see
have
if
I
anyone
can
on the
make
board wants to make the motion.
Yeah.
That would be great.
I'm happy to make the
You
motion.
got it, Amanda?
Yeah. So I move to support a collaboration for landscaping and gateway improvement at the Exit 3 roundabout and authorize town staff to work with the project proponents, V-Trans, and relevant partners to advance permitting, design review, and implementation consistent with all applicable regulations and municipal standards.
Great. Amanda has made a motion. Unless there's a comment from a board member at the time, I'm going to open it up to the public.
I would love to comment.
Sure.
I just want to thank you, CJ, for taking this initiative. I mean, I think what you're doing to beautify our town is, you're walking the walk. It's not just talk the talk. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Yep.
And, a colorful, joyful entrance to our town was just going to be great. So thank you.
I took the thought from our first meeting I attended last November, I believe, where you had a gentleman come in from Germany and said about little wins. And I could hear the rumbling in that crowd of all those thoughts starting about something like this. And then it just naturally occurred to me as I stared out my window every day, this would be a great starter. Because it doesn't require a lot of funds, it does require thoughtful application, but could be rapidly put in place.
Thank you, Amanda. Members of the public with a comment or question? Yes, please. Yes, otherwise no one can hear you online.
My name's Carol McManus. I'm from Brattleboro, and thank you. I just wonder, maybe I missed it, but
So,
where would the
Carol, I'm
fund?
sorry, if you could address me and then I'll pass
Oh,
your questions
sorry.
along. No, that's quite all
Yeah.
right.
I'm wondering, and I might have missed it, who is going to fund this? Who's going to pay for it? That's it.
Thank you. And I think that's the big outstanding question right now, but the plan, if this motion carries, the plan will be for the town to work with CJ and other people and try to put that funding together. We're certainly not committing any town money to the effort at this meeting. If we did, that would happen in another open meeting and everyone would have a chance to comment.
Yeah, we're not certain of what all costs will be, and we're not certain of what regulations require. But with that figure, I'm confident that I can jump in and solicit businesses to help support it and make it a reality. I agree with you that has to be a known number, yes.
Other questions or comments? Dick?
Yeah, I would, when I looked at a couple things, the schematic drawing that's in the packet, I wasn't clear if this is the plan from here, or I thought the request was to have V-Trans architect look at this and what possibly could be done. Again, institutional knowledge is that there used to be a Putney Road Association. And the Putney Road Association is the one who got that sign in the Rotary, because there certainly are a lot of strict requirements of what goes on there. And several years ago, not that this is about me, someone asked me if I wanted to put flowers in there, and I said, this is too big of a project for me, and it's an unsafe area to get to and to work at. So I certainly see hurdles. But one thing we need to remember is we have 3 gateways into Brattleboro and into Vermont. I don't know how fortunate someone had connections, because I believe there aren't any towns on the interstate, certainly in Vermont, that have 3 exits, and I'm not so sure of too many any in Massachusetts. I don't even think Springfield has 3 entrances onto the interstate. So I would hope that, I certainly support this, but I hope that Next Gen also talks about exit 1, which is heavily used, and exit 2, people heading over Route 9 to go to, Mount Snow and Wilmington in that area. So we're fortunate. So all 3 exits could use a sprucing up, and I hope we keep that under consideration as we're moving forward and talking about this.
Thanks, Dick. And CJ, I'm right to say that these are sort of early mock-ups and that there would be conversations with the architect and et
Yes,
cetera. Yeah.
a journey is with a single step, so
Indeed.
I literally cobbled this together and said, hey, we're going to reach the outcome that we all want. This is not a contentious project. It's just one that needs expertise that even I don't have, but I'm certain that as it comes together, you'll see better drawings and better outcomes as we go, all right?
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Seth?
I have one more comment from the board.
Yes,
After the
please.
public.
I
Yeah.
think the public is all done.
So last fall, the community house and Jill Stahl Tyler and myself, we planted mums at exit 2. and got permission from VTrans, from John. And so maybe this will spark a lot of ideas on our other exits. Yeah.
Yes, and as a continuing movement, right? If you want Next Gen or Agenda 2030 to grow routes that it's already growing and then maintain them for long periods of time, yes, I agree, we're going to have to consider what that looks like as we go forward, because I'm planning on living another 30 years and working, and hopefully will be available for weeding or planting. And to your credit, we discussed initially that this would be a rapid, once the plan is together, we don't want a lot of people in the middle of that circle for long periods of time, and that VTrans would have to block off some stuff. So it was suggested rightfully that when we get all our materials and everything together, it's going to come together very quickly, and it will be low maintenance when it's completed.
Fantastic, thank you. Well, Amanda has made a motion to support a collaboration for landscaping and gateway improvements at the Exit 3 roundabout and authorize town staff to work with the project proponents, VTrans, and relevant partners to advance permitting, design review, and implementation consistent with all applicable regulations and municipal standards. You ready for the vote? Isaac?
Yeah, I'd just be interested to hear if DPW is able to comment, or town manager, just in terms of capacity, because I know that they've been spread thin with their existing responsibilities.
Well, it would depend on what the ask would be of that department, and I don't think that plan has been totally developed yet. So initially, it would be support from the planning department to help with a submission to VTrans.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Any other questions from the board?
My impression of this is that it's authorizing town staff to work on the project. It's not necessarily obligating them should there be, a crunch in capacity.
That's right. Okay, well, there's a motion on the table. I think we're ready for the vote. All board members in favor of Amanda's motion, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
And that carries 5-0. Thank you, CJ.
Thank you.
All right, let me find my packet. So next up, we have a presentation from ECDC, and I think we have a guest. Yes, please join us at the table. Yes.
So, Oscar, it was requested that we get an update from ECDC, so I've invited Director Joe Wea to talk about the work that he's been doing with that organization in an area of refugees.
Great, thank you, John. Welcome, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's see, I know you have a presentation. Do we have slides, Seth? Okay, great.
All right, thank you. I want to thank the Selectboard for inviting me. And on behalf of the refugees population here, we want to say thank you to the town. So today I'm here to give you update on, since we started our operations in 2021, what we have so far done. And so I'll take you through with those slides. My presentation today will look at our projection for this year. So before I get to that, we started operations 2021. We opened our offices. At that time, we were expecting to receive refugees from around the world. Then, unfortunately, Kabul fell. And so then the Biden administration asked us to refocus our attention to the Afghan population. So January of 2022 up to October of 2022, our whole focus was on the Afghan population. And for that year, we reset to 98 Afghans. After that period, we refocused now to refugees from all around the world. So for my presentation right now for FY26, on the Trump administration, we have allocated 50 refugees for this year. Of that number, 20 are refugees with U.S. ties, 20 with no U.S. tie. a total of 40, and we were expecting to have 10 SIVs. And SIVs are special immigrant visa holders, and those are folks who have worked for the U.S. military. Unfortunately for us, in November, when there was a shooting in D.C., the administration decided to focus only on the South African population and do not allow any other population to come in. So since then, the population we have received at this point is 25 Afrikaners from South Africa and 3 Afghan nationals. So the total of 28 arrivals. We have 4 active cases, and we have closed 10 cases right now. And in our pipeline to arrive, we have 18 people to arrive. By the time I sent you this presentation, we have 1 arrival, so the total arrivals is actually 29. And next week, we will be receiving 7 additional arrivals. I also want to take you back a little bit where we started from, which is between January 2022 to December 2025. And this was when we moved on to the Trump administration. We started January. So from 2022 to 2025 have been the Biden administration. We have resettled 404 refugees, representing about 103 households. And addition to that was 84 refugee students, and they have all moved on to various campuses across the country. Nationalities we serve are Afghans, folks from El Salvador, Guatemala, Syria, Yemen, South Sudan, Central African Republic, Venezuela, Congo, Eritrea, Iraq. We serve both Windham County as well as Bennington County. So what you see up there is Bennington County. We have resettled 143 in total in Bennington. Of that number is representing 53 households, and there wasn't refugee students. Of that number also was 6 SIV holders. So the total resettled refugees in our region is 659 refugees, representing 170 households. As I mentioned, 84 refugee students, but they have moved to various campuses. And of that 659, we have a total of 28 SIVs, which is special immigrant visa holders. What we do in terms of services, we provide permanent housing, and we have secure permanent housing for all 170 households before the those who out-migrated to other states. We also help in collaboration with World Learning, provide English language support as well as cultural orientation. We do domestic health assessment and also primary care. We completed those services. And what that means is before folks come, we get their health information, and then we work with our health providers to do a domestic health assessment to establish their health baseline here in the U.S., and also help them have their primary care providers. We also helped with green cards applications for adjustment of status. Refugees, when they come, they have 1 year to stay as refugees, and then after that 1 year period, they have to apply to USCIS to adjust their status and receive their green cards. Of the 659 refugees that I mentioned, 133 refugees have out-migrated to other states, and that representing about 20% of our resettled population. In Brattleboro alone, we have 24 regular refugees who out-migrated, plus 84 students that came, and the 84 students purposely came to go to various campuses, so they weren't meant to stay here. They only came to stay at SIT for orientation and then move to various campuses. In Bennington, 22, and then in Springfield, 3 people have moved. We also reset a few folks in Springfield and as well as Bedford Falls. So the new Americans that are currently residing in South Vermont, about towns here, Brattleboro, we have Brattleboro and Guilford. We have 379 refugees that are in Brattleboro and Guilford. In Bellas Falls, we have 9 refugees that are residing there. In Springfield, we have 13 refugees that are residing there. In Bennington, we have 121 residing in Bennington. And then in Wilmington, we have 4 refugees that are residing in Wilmington. And all of the population, all of the nationalities are, folks from Afghanistan, El Salvador again, Guatemala, Syria, Yemen, South Sudan, Central Africa Republic, Venezuela, Congo, Eritrea, Iraq, South Africans, and Ukrainians. Now, I want to move you on to sometimes in the public, people think that only services we provide is for the first 90 days, but our services will work with refugees up to 5 years. The services we provide, when they arrive, we call them the 90-day services, which has very intensive case management, finding housing, employment, healthcare providers, and things like that. After that period, we do an assessment of each case and see what is done, because the focus of this program is, from the federal level, is self-sufficiency. The federal government wants each person or each family should be self-sufficient. So we have to do an evaluation and see where people are. And for those who have not reached our self-sufficiency metrics, then we start to work with you to re-enroll you into other programs. So those programs that we work with are employment services, which are post-90 services. There's another program we call the intensive case management. This is mostly for folks, for families who are struggling as a mostly single parent who need wraparound services. We enroll them into that program. And we have what we call the gap services program. These are just one-touch program. Like, for example, if someone only looking for that one-time housing support and came to us, then we provide you with that one-time gap service. We also do health navigation. And as you may have heard, as of October, refugees who are arriving will not be qualified for Medicaid. And so we will have folks who will be losing their Medicaid coverage. We have, so we are working with them for those who are working to move on to the employer-provided health care service. And for those who are still refugees and haven't found employment yet, we're still working with the state to see how the state might be able to help. We also provide legal services, as I mentioned, for adjustment of status for those who need that support. And also, there's a program under the federal government, they call it Refugee Cash Assistance. This is a program that tailored towards folks with no children. It mainly focused on giving them that one-time help so that they will be able to be self-sufficient within that, 3 to 6 months period. So for legal support and green cards, since we started, folks that have received green cards, 357 people that have received their green cards. We have submitted 68 applications that are pending with USCIS. At this point, 25 people are not eligible, and they are not eligible to apply because they are still within that 1 year period. 76 refugees, we are still gathering their green cards information, because in the green card information, sometimes our refugees apply on their own. So now all the informations we are tracking. So these 76 folks right now, we don't have any status on whether they received their green cards. If they did not receive their green cards, then they will be added to the 68. The last piece I want to, another piece I want to mention here is our Multicultural Community Center. We have a Multicultural Community Center that is downtown Brattleboro, and the focus of that Multicultural Community Center is a place that brings both the community and refugees together to share cultural values. And that center, at the center, if you haven't visited, please, I encourage each of you to go there. And we do, for education, we do ESL classes there. We also work with conversational partners, and we also do cultural orientation there. Our case managers meet clients there for health navigation. We also have a sewing class there for those who are interested in sewing. So some of the refugees do some sewing. Sometimes we also do for kids working cases. Now, all the refugees that come, we pick up from the airport. Sometimes refugees come to the state and walk to our offices. And under the federal law, we have to serve them if they qualify for our program. And one distinction I also want to make is that every refugees we work with has to be approved by the federal government. So we don't work with refugees who are not through the federal program. All our refugees must be approved by the federal program before we work with you. Employment. For FY26 employment outcomes, we have 95% employment rate, which means that 19 of the employable adults, 19 of the employable adults, 18 have been employed already. And the average hourly wage they get is $21.40 an hour, which is pretty good, especially for those who are just coming to the States. If we move on also from January 2022 to December 2025, we have 89.6% employment, which is about 386 of the 431 employable adults. And again, the average hourly wage we see is $21.40. The 10.4% we mostly see who are not employed is mostly amongst the African women, and partly it's due to cultural issues as well as English language support. So that's why it's taking a little bit of time to have this 10% get into an employment. I want to leave you with this piece of refugees' economic impact, and this data is nationwide, and I'm going to draw it down a little bit to Southern Vermont. According to this, in 2019, according to RRC, the refugees' household income across the country was $93.6 billion. And taxes paid during the same period was $25 billion. Refugees contributed to our tax income. And also in 2022, according to HIAS, refugee spending was $82 billion. And it also says on 5 years in the U.S., refugees' income growth over time is $30,500 million income. But if you move on to 20 plus year in the U.S., it's $71,400 million income. exceeding US million of 67,100. And after 20 years, refugees earn 4,300 a year more than native-born citizens. 13% of refugees start businesses, higher than all immigrants' population, which is at 11%, or native-born, which is 9%. Now, for Southern Vermont, we don't have empirical data to really drill that. I mean, to prove this, but this is projection from the refugees' income we have here. We estimated the combined income of refugees who are employable adults would be about 12.2 million. And the estimated tax contribution would be about 1.8 to 2 million, to 2.4 million a year. That's our projection for refugees' estimated tax contribution to our state. That being said, I just wanted to leave you, if I still have time, with this impact story. And this is right here in Brattleboro, and I'm sure some of you may have been aware of it already. And it's about one of our refugees called Abdul Azizi. And when Kabul fell in August 2021, Abdul faced an impossible choice. He and his wife were evacuated, separated from their children. They arrived in Brattleboro in January of 2022 with no family ties, no friends, and nothing but hope and determination. ECDC Vermont will welcome Abdul to his new community, drawing on his carpentry expertise. He secured his first position as a handyman, quickly earning a reputation for quality work. When the demand grew, Abdul made a bold decision. He would become his own boss. He launched his own business, then began hiring other recently resettled Afghan refugees, creating a ripple effect of opportunity and self-sufficiency in our community. His entrepreneurial vision did not stop there. He identified a neglected 6-bedroom home near downtown, and some of you may know this already, in Brattleboro, and at a price about just over $50,000. Most saw a liability, but Abdul saw a potential in that home. He purchased it and started renovating it. And some of you, if you see the house now, you not believe how the house has been changed right now. In less than 3 years, Abdul has achieved what many would consider the American dream. He became only the second homeowner among the more than 600 plus refugees families resettled in Southern Vermont, a testament to resilience and the power of our community support. I want to end here and say thank you for your time, and I stand for questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe. That was an excellent presentation. I don't have much to say other than that you guys are a great organization. You're doing incredibly important work. It's kind of an honor that people choose to come to Brattleboro to start a new life, and hopefully we can live up to that responsibility. So thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
And for the work you're doing. I'd like to open it up to the board now for any comments or questions. Seeing none. Seeing Isaac.
Yeah, well, thank you, Joe. What opportunities are there for support, or what needs do you have from the community?
So one of the greatest needs is I just mentioned about our community center and the multicultural community center. We have been moving around first from Bell Street, rented a space there, moved to SIT campus. Now we got a space with the Brattleboro Museum, but temporarily. And so that program is one of the programs that does not fit within the federal government support. But it's so essential that we continue with that program because that's the melting point between the community and our refugees community. And we applied to the Human Services grant here at the town, and we hoping to get support from that. So any support towards our multicultural community center, we appreciate it. Volunteering is another thing. When I ask our population, especially these difficult times our population is in, one thing they always say to me is that we love Brattleboro because we feel at home. And when that November situation happened, and when I called a meeting to hear from our population and say, how do you feel? And one of the things people said to me was that, we feel safe because some of the volunteers called us to say we are here. And that speaks to the spirit of this community. And as you know, maybe I did not mention this region is the only rural refugees resettlement region in the entire country. And to have the least migration, even though it looks higher here, but compared to other places, to have the least migration, out-migration of refugees, it means that people feel at home here. And anything you can do, and I was with John at the presentation. John, I want to say we are on board with your new initiative. I think Jen, I can't remember.
Gen.
Next Gen.
Yes, please. We are here. Invite us. Any way we can to support that project, that would be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Isaac. Any comments or questions from the public? Yes, Heidi.
Heidi Fisher, Brattleboro. I just want to say, I think Joe's being very humble, because when ECDC started, he had much more of a staff and had a lot of help and volunteers that were working with him. And as the government support changed, his staff has decreased greatly.
Yep.
And he and his now very small staff has continued to do this fabulous work. So I just want that to be noted, that they're working with very difficult staffing model because of, is that fair to say, Joe?
Thank you. Thank you for mentioning
Thank
that.
you, Joe.
When the new administration came in and did the night of the inauguration, the first funding that was cut was our funding. We were one of the first that was affected. We had a staff. We had a staff low of about 32 staff. Now we're operating at around 15 staff, and so that tells you how. And our funding has been continuing to go down. We still face challenges. So again, any support, anyone, for those hearing who are not here, might be hearing us, any support will help us. The folks are here to stay. You see them as the new neighbors. They are here. But it's still struggling. They wouldn't say what's going on with them, but we live in a very stressful time with our population. So any support you can give us, and any support you can give to them, will go a long way.
Thank you, Joe, and thanks, Heidi, for the comment. Any other questions or comments from the public? Okay, Joe, I think we're going to thank you very much again for coming.
Thank you.
And I think if I was to sum up the things that would help most, it would be help with the community, the multicultural community center space, volunteering, and I assume financial donations.
Correct.
Would be helpful as well. All right. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we're going to take a look at the approval for the United Steelworkers contract. Sally, yes. Please join us at the table. And I will turn it over to you for your presentation.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Tonight I bring forward the fourth and final collective bargaining agreement we negotiated for this year. So this is a memorandum of understanding. It's a one-year agreement with the USW Local 944. This union represents our town, our highway equipment operators, our solid waste, our mechanics, maintenance, custodians, rec and park maintenance, engineering, wastewater, and water treatment plant operators, and the water service division. We started negotiating with this union a little later than the others. We did negotiate on their wage scales, cost of living, their compensatory time, performance evaluations, personal hours, vacation buyback, medical at retirement, shift differentials, the child care credit tax, and management rights. So this would be a one-year contract. It would take effect July 1st of 26 through June 30th of 27. And so I can take any questions that you might have.
Great, thank you. I'll just say that, as with the other contracts, we've been sort of in the weeds on this with you guys for a while, so I don't have any particular questions, but again, thank you to you and John and the rest of the staff for all the work you've done on this.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions from the board?
I'll just echo what Oscar said, you know, thank you for all the work. I know there's just been hours and hours and hours of pouring through all these documents, getting us to this point, and I can't thank both of you, and you especially, enough.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Any other questions from the board? Nope. Any questions from the public? Okay, seeing none, I would accept a motion.
All right, I'll read the motion. I move to approve the June 11th, 2026 Memorandum of Understanding between the Town of Brattleboro and the United Steel, Paper and Forestry, Rubber Manufacturing, Energy, Allied Industrial, and Service Workers International Union, USW, on behalf of Public Works, Recreation and Parks Department, and custodians, local number 944, for inclusion in the one-year collective bargaining agreement for July 1, 2026 through June 30th, 2027.
Okay, Amanda has made a motion. Are you ready for that vote? Okay, all in favor of Amanda's motion, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 And that carries 5-0.
Thank you very
Great,
much.
thank you, Sally.
Thank you.
All right, next up is an update on town-owned land. Is that Sue?
Yes, Sue Fillion.
Sue, if you're here, we are inviting you to the table.
Here she is.
Hi, Sue.
Hello. All right.
Welcome,
Thank you.
and I will turn it over to you to
Sure.
walk us through this.
Thanks. So it's been a little bit, but the planning department was asked to look at the town-owned lands and make some recommendations on parcels that, you know, could be considered for development or potentially being sold off. So the first step that we did was to kind of create an online inventory. It's up on the town website. If you go to brattleboro.gov, planning department, and you kind of drop down in there, there's an inventory that's been up for a while. Probably could use a little bit of tweaking. And then the next step, based on the last meeting, we investigated some parcels further to understand what kind of limitations there might be, or any kind of deed restrictions or easements, that kind of thing that are on parcels, to be able to make some recommendations to you. So I have a couple that I wanted to talk about today. And I'm sorry I didn't include it in your packet, but there were copies of maps. I figured if we're talking about parcels, the public will probably want to know where they're at. So
Yes?
yes, and they're up on the screen. So the first site that I want to talk about is the Harris lot. So that is on the map that's on the screen. It's the top parcel where there's the little call-out box on it. That is a property that we had talked about under a previous town manager, where we actually put out an RFP with kind of an option to develop. We were looking for a developer to do a housing development there. And so that property, we had kind of started to work with M&S Development, and then we kind of stopped the work due to turnover in management, but also due to M&S kind of got busy on some of their work in Bennington. So this property is still, you know, very viable, and we'd like to move forward with, you know, kind of figuring out a project there, at least, you know, the initial phases of it with M&S Development. And this could potentially take in some of the parking lot at Gibson Aiken Center, which is the parcel that's just below it that's highlighted as well. But we'll need to work on that. So that would be the recommendation, is to move forward with the work that had kind of started but stopped. Because we do think that's a great area for development in the downtown. It brings more people living downtown to help support the viability of downtown. The second parcel that I want to talk about would be right here at the Municipal Center. So this property, there's been interest in the past. If the municipal offices were to go somewhere else, this could be a good site for housing development. Not only the building, but it's quite a large parcel too. So there's various ways that, this parcel could be looked at. We could sell it. We could sell the building and keep some of the land or keep some of the parking for the library. That'll all be dependent, with whatever happens to town offices. But we do think that this is a property that the town should consider for housing should the offices move somewhere else. And then the next is, so there's 9 parcels in those red areas. This is Wilson's Woods. It was a subdivision that was done, I think, in the 80s, maybe the 90s. And where the red parcels are, they were never developed, and there's like a street that would go through there. The street was never built. They're parcels that we have held onto. There are potentially some environmental and permitting challenges. Environmental in that that's the kettle pond that you see in the gray there. And so there's probably wetlands around it that actually were fairly recently delineated by the state, although I haven't seen the results of that yet. We think these are, potentially developable. Again, I think there could be some permitting challenges through Act 250 or some of the environmental constraints on the property, so that would have to be considered a little bit more. If the town wanted to consider selling off these lots, we would recommend that they all be sold off together with one developer doing something there, because a road is going to need to be built. And so that could be something that the state's CHIP program, it would need infrastructure, so maybe that would be something to consider for these parcels. So those are the Kettle Pond parcels. The next would be the police station has about ½ acre on Black Mountain Road that is flat and green and could be developed with something. Ideally, maybe it could be, if any of the parcels around it were able to be available and kind of put together, there could be a larger project there. On the front of the property, I was thinking there's a lot of work being done by the state to come up with some pre-approved kind of shovel-ready plans, in a sense, and some of them are multi-unit, so maybe you could get a 3 or a 4-unit house on that. There might be a developer interested in doing that, or maybe it's something the town might want to do and use for employee housing of some sort. I know the city of Lebanon, New Hampshire has been trying to get projects off the ground, kind of little cottage clusters, where they're going to give a priority to municipal workers, school district workers, or nonprofit workers in the town. So they've been at that for a little bit, and I think it was moving forward in this little scaled-down version than what they originally anticipated, but basically trying to meet that workforce housing need of probably up to 150% of area median income. So that, something like that, if it was just a small piece of this parcel, but if there was some assemblage of parcels around it, then it could be something bigger. The 5th parcel that I'm going to throw out, only because we know there's a need for some upgrades to the DPW facility, is the DPW facility. So this is the blue parcels on this map. The red were the Wilson's Woods parcels that I had previously talked about. So on the south side of Fairground Road, that's the DPW facility, and then on the north side of it, that's the some of their pits. This property, if DPW was to eventually relocate somewhere else, this is in a neighborhood close to schools, close to hospital, sidewalks, all of the good stuff that people are finding attractive. When I speak to realtors around, most of the people that they're talking to want something that's walkable. So, should this parcel become available in the future, we should definitely be thinking about development, housing development on it, either through a public partnership, private partnership, or potentially selling it. I think there'd be advantages to selling it off in that it probably needs to be, there needs to be some environmental work assessment done there. And potentially if there was to be cleanup, then somebody other than the town would have access to grants and whatnot. So that's an interesting one probably to just be thinking about for the future, depending on what happens with the DPW facility. And then there's a couple parcels that I guess are just lower priority for us. So this property, the triangle piece, the red piece, is on King Avenue. A lot of it is quite steep, and there is a very large sewer line that runs through the middle of it. It's something that, it would need an easement on it because the sewer line is there and it's deep and it runs through, but maybe somebody on King Avenue would have an interest in it for parking, or maybe a shed, or even a tiny home. We think that about a tiny home, once you put the easement on it for the sewer, is probably about all that you could get there. But, sorry, I can't, it does have some value and it could be useful to somebody. And then the next parcels here, so I'm looking at the big square red one. Yep, right there to the left. That's actually 2 parcels in there. These parcels were given to the town, I think, when Brookside condominiums went in. So if you go north of this, you're going to hit Western Avenue. These kind of sit off of Summit Circle and Hillcrest Terrace. They're kind of landlocked right now. I think there might be a right-of-way actually to get in, but it's not built. The road's not built off of Summit Circle. So they do have trails on them. They don't have water and sewer, and they're in a lower density zoning district. I think that, they could be put up for sale, and maybe with the trails rearranged of some sort on the properties, if there was interest. They were given to the town for recreational purposes. We weren't able to find any deeds or any other legal instruments that kind of would prevent development there. So those are 2 others to consider. So those are the parcels that I'm bringing before you tonight for just kind of consideration, or if you want to request additional work, or how you would like to proceed.
Great, thank you, Sue. Yes, John.
And Oscar, we weren't really looking for motions tonight, but any guidance that you have or things that you think we should prioritize would be helpful to get your feedback.
Great, thank you, John. Board members, any questions for Sue while we have her?
I would be interested to know what you think would be places that we should be putting energy first, and like the lowest hanging fruit. I mean, it's great to see you coming with this, and given that creation of housing is a priority for us, I'd love to see what we can do to move forward.
I think the Harris lot one is probably the priority now, because M&S is still interested in it, and we think we have some resources that we can put towards it. I think a development project there would take some time, but it's worth getting started on that, I think, and then seeing where it goes, if it goes anywhere. So I think that's a good one. And then I think once I get the wetland information, I think an easy one I could be the Wilson's Woods properties, to see about putting those out there and see if anybody's interested, maybe an RFP for those.
That's the Kettle Pond one? Is
Yes.
that the same?
Yeah, Kettle Pond subdivision, sorry. Yeah.
And so obviously we could find a developer for, let's say, talking about that one, how do you weigh the trade-offs between that and just, selling the property to somebody who's going to develop it? Or would it sort of go the same way?
I think it would, do you mean would it go the same way as the Harris lot? So,
Well, just if we have the choice of working to try and find a developer and leasing the property to them and all that sort of stuff versus just putting the property up for sale to somebody who presumably wants to do something with it, how do we?
So for the Kettle Pond, the Wilson's Woods parcels, because we think it needs infrastructure, it seems to make more sense to put it out as an RFP and it could totally be for somebody to buy those parcels, but to have one buyer of it, one developer that can do the 9 parcels, or maybe because of the wetlands, it needs to become 7 parcels instead of 9, just because it could be a little complex that way on the permitting side. But it could be that the town is willing to consider doing the CHIP program so that the road can be built and water and sewer could be brought in there, but the developer is going to own it. Oh.
Great, thank you. And before we open it up to the public, it's fair to say that these will continue to be explored and will move forward deliberately, but before any decision was made to actually take action on any of these properties, it would come back before the board.
Yeah.
We would have another conversation, we'd have a vote, et cetera. So.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Anyone in the public with a question or comment? Yes, Dick.
I was actually hoping that you would mention number 2. I would love to get out of this sunken chest wound that we're sitting in. This has been a real albatross around our neck. A lot of money has gone into this facility, and a lot more needs to go into this facility. So I'm hoping that you would prioritize this and look at the potential for an RFP. With any of these properties, I would hope that the purchase and sale agreement would have that the land be developed within a certain period of time rather than just sell off the property to get it on the tax roll, which would be minimal value versus having a building on it. And I hope you keep that in the forefront of your thoughts when you go into possibly selling these properties off. I certainly, and again, with the Harris lot, even though that should be put out to see if there's any other interest with any other developer if we move forward with that parcel of property. I'm sure there might be. So we need to explore all the options and not just have tunnel vision to one developer in the community. Thank you.
Thanks, Dick. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none. Don't need a motion or anything like that at this time, so unless someone on the board has another comment, I think we will just thank you, Sue, for joining us and for the update, and move on to our next item. So thanks
Okay.
again.
I'm going to stick around.
Oh, sure.
Next item.
If you want, I mean.
I can head.
No. All right, so next up is the discussion of the vacant building ordinance, and back to you, Sue.
Yeah, sure. So this is an update on where we're at with the vacant building ordinance. So this was adopted in 2025, and it took a bit to get it up administratively. And so this spring, we actually got around to implementing it, getting the permit online and getting letters out to property owners. And it's been a bit slow going, but I'd like to connect what Joe was saying, his last story of the person that bought the house on High Street or Western Ave, because that was one of our challenges when the ordinance was adopted, is this building was just sitting there, and the pressure of having the ordinance actually got the property owner to do something and sell it at a, probably a reasonable rate, and now it's being developed into housing. So that's what we're really hoping to accomplish with this ordinance. And I would say we've had conversations when the letters went out and people started registering or fretting about the fee, about, well, what can I do? And so that we're putting pressure on the estate to kind of get things wrapped up. So we have identified and notified 28 properties. Actually, since I wrote this memo, I got a call about another property, so another letter has gone out. 3 are formally registered, 4 are in some sort of back and forth about considering the waiver, and the building officer has been on vacation, so he'll be back, and that will happen. We've had a couple letters returned. The fee is $1,000, and there's been waivers issued, so we actually haven't collected any fees yet. I would say, 2 are planned, have a demolition plan in place, 2 of the properties, and 1 kind of has a court action, probably broadly considered through the estate, and not having everything wrapped up, but a plan in place to wrap that up in the next couple of months, and then put it for sale. We've had a couple of calls. We sent out a second letter late 2 weeks ago, some point last week. We've had a couple of calls about properties on the list and what do they need to do. It's a bit of a back and forth. We're getting a lot of grumbling about the fee, for sure. And we've kind of taken a soft approach to begin with, to please get on the registry, let's get your information. What we haven't really started doing is actual enforcement of the ordinance. That's a little bit more difficult and time consuming, but going out to check these buildings and make sure that everything's secure. We kind of take the complaints as they're there, but we haven't actively enforced on anything with it yet. I think some of the challenges are the administrative capacity. So just getting it up and running has been slow. We've got it all online now. People seem to be able to follow the directions through OpenGov, but not everybody's doing it. So it's more letters. It's that kind of thing taking time right now. And then, there's some undeliverable mail. We kind of go back and forth with the finance department to get information where we can, and hopefully we'll pick some of those up. I mean, some things that, have a mailing address are getting returned to us, so not really understanding that one. And then we think that the probate-related vacancies are going to be difficult to enforce on. I did have a little conversation with Bob and Hannah tonight, who seemed to indicate they should be able to find out for us who's in charge of the probate. Because we often have somebody's name on it, but they're not necessarily in charge of it. It's kind of the probate's in charge of it, so they're balking at paying the fee and stuff. But at least it's bringing to attention that this is sitting there, you need to kind of move this along. So that's where it's at.
Great.
To start.
Thank you, Sue. Questions or comments from the board?
I was curious because my impression was that, for example, it would be fairly easy to have a rundown old building on a property or owned by someone that's used for an authorized use, like storage, that prevents it from being a vacant building. But it doesn't necessarily prevent the issues that the ordinance is attempting to address, like, broken windows, rodents hanging out somewhere, like a property on a residential street not being maintained and affecting sidewalk or stuff like that. And so I know that this is a question kind of outside of the scope of the ordinance there, but do we have a way of confirming that? Like, if it's listed as warehousing or storage, or even like as a garage, if we get to a point where the person who's on vacation is back and checking these, would they be checking buildings that were basically flagged as potentially vacant, but then claimed as storage?
So we've actually had a little of that happen.
Okay.
So and it's not fully resolved yet, but somebody's claiming that it's storage and therefore it's exempt. But we need to go through our records and make sure they're permitted as storage. So, I mean, that doesn't. So yeah, we're in that right now. We think that there'll be some of that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because I'm bringing it up because I walk around town and it's things that have occurred to me. And there's certain, basically under this ordinance, there's certain, you have to comply with a certain level of maintaining of the structure. But then it's like, okay, well, if it's storage, you don't have to maintain the structure. I think that might be something I'm sure that will come up. I'm sure you guys will get calls about it. But yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Nell. Any other comments from the board?
Yeah, I appreciate this ordinance because it does create an incentive to repurpose a building for occupancy. Create some urgency. So I'm really glad that our town has this. It's hard to make decisions when something's in probate, someone's died. You can get into an inertia. All of a sudden it's 3 years, and so I think it's with humility that we have this ordinance, and also it's helping.
Thanks, Amanda. I have a couple comments. It's too bad that Gemma Seymour is not here to say it, but if she were, she would remind us that when you tax something, you often get less of it, and I think that's the goal of this ordinance. I think we would all be happy as a town if we never collected a single dollar in fees, but properties got repurposed or got, put into the hands of somebody who wants to do something with them, et cetera. So even though we haven't collected any fees, it's actually really encouraging to hear that the fees have changed someone's behavior and it got that property into new hands. I think it's the question of what to do with these more complicated estates will be challenging, and hopefully if Bob and Hannah can help us figure out the tools for ways to apply those fees to a property that's in that state, I think that's a good path to go down. And I do want to, this ordinance predates me, but I was a big fan of it when it was passed. And I'd like to talk about some of the ways that it could even be expanded. In particular, I think I'd love to know more about expanding the ordinance to apply to vacant storefronts. Specifically, I think I would be talking about ground level commercial storefronts that are left empty. Portland, Maine recently did something very similar to this. So it would be a larger conversation, but that's something I would love for us to explore, again, in the spirit of, I don't think we would be talking about big money any more than we are with these, but a reminder that keeping these properties vacant for years at a time really does have a cost to the community and to the commons. So that's something that I'd love to learn more about and see what our options are there. If we did move ahead with something like that, this is mostly a topic for another day, but I would like to couple it with some sort of program or funding for downtown business owners for, downtown beautification and improvements. I very much don't want any of these things to be punitive, but just to put the incentives in the right direction. So if that's something we could discuss at a later meeting, that would be really welcome. I know everyone's overworked these days, but just to put it in the conversation.
Yeah.
And then if there are no other comments, Isaac, yes.
Yeah, thank you. And I agree with Oscar that it would be great to see what we could do to address the vacant storefronts in town.
One note I'll add to that I forgot, something I really liked about the Portland program was that one of the ways you could be exempt from the fee was if you just did something nice with your storefront. So even though it's unrented, if you make it look welcoming and interesting and not vacant, that was enough for an exemption. And I think that would go towards a lot of the concerns.
Specifically in Portland, it was if they allowed the town to display art in the storefront. So that could be an interesting collaboration with maybe the Town Arts Fund or DBA or.
So let me open up to questions or comments from the public. Dick?
I wasn't quite clear. I heard the answer for, I think you said that we hadn't charged any fees yet. At what point are we going to initiate the fees? I know that when we started this whole conversation, that was the big carrot here. And now that we have the ordinance in place, the big carrot is still the fees to get people to move forward. So when do we possibly see us starting to initiate fees? Because when you look at the total number and then you look at the few responses, the carrot is the fine for not responding and doing something with your property. So if you could answer that.
Yeah, Sue,
Sure.
can I?
Yeah, so the fees are in place. It's just that the ones who've responded, well, the 3 that are finalized, they did get waivers. The 4 have waiver requests that Brian's looking into. So we did put out a second notice and said that, if you don't register, you are going to get fined. It's not the $1,000 fine. It's kind of the municipal ticket fine. And so that will happen. I think there needs to be a 30-day notice of that. So that'll be mid-month that we'll start sending those out.
Thanks, Sue. And yes, John.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, Oscar, that as this is a new program and we're still feeling our way to how to implement it, I don't believe we put very much in the budget in terms of revenues from this, so
Yeah.
it's not something we're relying on for fiscal '27.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
That's a good point to call out. If we go for people who don't respond, and then we send them a sort of municipal ticket for failure to register, is there a pathway for that to become the actual fine? Because otherwise it seems like a pretty cheap way to opt out of the structure.
So is it a pathway for it to become? No, I don't believe so.
So
they get fined. Hopefully they'll get on and do it, and then they'll, if they don't meet a waiver requirement, then they'll have to pay the fee.
So what would happen to somebody who just never registers?
Eventually, we'd have to work with the town attorney and,
Okay,
file something. Yeah.
got it. Great, thank you. Any other questions from the public? Final thoughts from the board?
I guess I'm just curious, in this hypothetical that Oscar raised, how frequently can we send municipal tickets if someone's just repeatedly ignoring something?
Boy, I'm more familiar with the zoning violations than the municipal tickets, because I'm not one that can issue the municipal tickets. I think you have to give them, I think you can do it with some frequency. I think technically you could do it daily, but I don't think that would work well for this type of thing. That works well for, like, a sandwich board is out and it's not supposed to be in. I'm going to fine you today and tomorrow, so I can get back to you on that answer. But
Thanks, Nell. Okay, unless there are other comments, there's no motion necessary at this time. So I think we will move on.
All right.
Thank you, Sue,
Thank
for
you.
both your agenda items.
thank you.
And I'm going to suggest we take a 5-minute break and come back for the second half. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Great. 5-minute recess, 7-minute. We'll be back at 8 p.m. Yeah.
We're good.
All right, everyone, welcome back. We're gonna call back to order. We're cruising right along. I'll jinx it right now by saying it. Next up, we're FY27 tax rate with Jennifer. Welcome, Jennifer.
So, good evening, Select Board and everyone. I'm here representing Treasury, who put together your memo in your packet, to ask the board to approve a municipal tax rate of 1.7172, which is a combination of the municipal rate of 1.716 for the general fund operations, and a local agreement rate of 0.0012. Also, ask to approve a tax rate of 0.1288 for Downtown Improvement District, and a tax rate of 4.0573 for Mountain Home Special Assessment, and to ratify the state education homestead rate of 1.8581 and the non-homestead rate of 1.7793. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any about these rates.
Great, thank you, Jennifer.
Sure.
I'll just note that these numbers are sort of the end result of a whole bunch of other decisions that we've already made and other people have made. And I think for this one, I'd love to start off with a motion and then go from there. Isaac, are you interested?
Sure.
Thank you.
I move to approve a municipal tax rate of $1.7172 per $100 of assessed valuation, which includes 1.7160 for general fund operations and 0.0012 for the local agreement. An additional $0.1288 per $100 of assessed valuation for the Downtown Improvement District, an additional $4.0573 per $100 of assessed valuation for the Mountain Home Special Assessment, and to ratify the state-mandated education rates of $1.8581 per $100 of assessed valuation for homestead properties, and $1.7793 per $100 of assessed valuation for non-residential properties.
Thank you, Isaac. I think you got the hardest motion of the day. Okay, Isaac's made a motion. Any questions or discussion by the board? Any questions or comments from the public? Okay, then we have a motion on the table. All in favor of Isaac's motion, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
I
Thanks,
was
Jennifer.
kind of hoping
Thanks, Jennifer.
Oscar would reread it.
Yeah, I thought about it and then I chose not to. Great, thank you, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving along to the EMS Subcommittee update and dissolution. I will quickly summarize the memo that's in the backups. The history of this is that Open Town Meeting passed a non-binding resolution, a long resolution that included a request for an independent third-party consultant and raised some other concerns about the EMS reporting. The Select Board was a little in doubt about the intent of the resolution, so we formed a working group that was Nell and myself to do some public outreach and try and get a better understanding. We had 2 public meetings and ended up with this memo. 2 themes that were repeated throughout the process that I think are worth calling out are just that this is a complicated program. The report, which is what flags a lot of people's interest and trouble with understanding it. It's a complicated new program where the numbers are fused with the numbers for the fire department services, and that thus the overriding intent of the people we spoke to was not to revisit old decisions or anything like that, but just to gain a better understanding of this complex program. And second was that public opinion of the quality of the service provided is uniformly high. We didn't hear a single complaint from a member of the public that Brattleboro EMS does a bad job or anything like that. In fact, quite the opposite. As far as doing an immediate study, with the exception of, I think, 2 or 3 people, the majority of people we spoke to were willing to wait for 2 reasons. One is that doing a study in a future year allows for more data to be collected because the program will have existed for longer. And also, if we do a study in a future year, we can budget for it appropriately instead of spending unbudgeted funds. So our recommendation in this memo is to plan for a study in FY29. And then some minor, well, not really minor, but some smaller items were just around ways we could improve communication with the public about these numbers. They're summarized at the bottom of the memo, but basically the select board is going to make extra efforts to communicate better about this, hear specific questions from the public, make sure we get those specific questions answered, and then just improve the EMS data webpage on the website. I'd love to build out a frequently asked questions section there so that when somebody asks a question and we get a definitive answer, we can put it up there for posterity, for people to refer to. So I don't want to read every word on this page, but the main recommendation is to plan for a study in FY29 and work to make some of these ongoing improvements. And also, Nell, if you have any comments as my co-working group member, please.
Yeah, I would just briefly say, I mean, I would thank everyone that reached out to us and that took the time to speak to us and took the time to come to our meetings and took the time to come to our second meeting to watch us write this memo. But something, you know, that I really took away from the community meeting that we had, the first one, we had 2 warned meetings and many private meetings where Oscar and I individually met with people who were interested, was just the level of conversation that could be held in a more informal setting such that people could kind of directly talk to each other, and it was a bit easier to hear a question and then get an answer in a more immediate sense. So that was what I thought the real significant value in building out the EMS data web pages is to have a point of reference for people to refer back to. There were some questions that had been brought up multiple times in like a public forum like this in Selectboard, where just the thread is lost and the answer doesn't get to the person asking it. And one of those, you know, was even able to be answered in our warrant meeting. So I was appreciative of that, the communication that we were able to hold there. And I think I see a real value in that in the interim, to have a reference point and people can see, okay, not only what has been asked, but, you know, there's the answer for it. So I have a consolidated list of questions and key points and concerns that I can take to staff, and we can start from there for the EMS data page. So.
Thanks, Nell. I think this would be a good opportunity for a motion, and then we can open it up to the board.
I'll motion to adopt the recommendations of the EMS subcommittee as presented, and then separate or same motion to formally?
We'll do it as a separate one, I think.
All right.
Okay, so Peter has moved to adopt the recommendations of the EMS subcommittee as presented. Comments or questions from the board?
I want to say thank you, Nell and Oscar, and the community members that participated in this process. The outcome is really tangible and doable, so kudos.
Thanks, Amanda. And I should mention that the fire chief and the assistant fire chief came to our first big meeting, and it was great that they were there. We were able to have that one-on-one or sort of direct person-to-person communication. And I felt like everyone left that meeting feeling better about things. So there's a motion on the table. Any comments or questions from the public? Heidi and then Kate.
Heidi Fisher, Brattleboro. Just a question. How did you come to the decision of doing it in fiscal year 29, which would be, if I'm calculating right, 4 years out from the beginning of the program, versus 3 years out, which was discussed in that original meeting with the chief and assistant chief?
I don't think that we did a precise calculation. If we did it for this year, if we put it in this year's budget, it would be for FY '28 in the budget that we're about to do. So I think it was an estimate chosen to give a little more time than just restarting this conversation in 3 months. But it's, there wasn't a precise calculation behind it.
Well, and also to be able to break out the cost and the planning across 2 budget years.
Kate?
Kate O'Connor, Brattleboro. I want to thank both Oscar and Nell for taking the time to do this. I went to the first meeting, and it was very productive. I did not go to the second to stare at you folks writing, but I appreciated the first meeting. My question and continuing concern is, how are we going to get reliable and timely information on the revenue and expenses for EMS? Because that has not been addressed, and I know we'll get the monthly finance reports that come out, but we still are going to have the same issues of parsing that information and being on the same page on what that information means. And as you folks know, I believe you can give us a lot of the expense information because you had the town of Brattleboro had to file with the Green Mountain Care Board to get a certificate of need to do the program in the first place. And in that filing is what they said the expenses were going to be. So I really think it's important that we, from a financial standpoint, from where our town stands, that we have a handle on what the finances are of this program, as you know. We have a great case study that we're going to be talking about tonight of an institution in our town that things got out of control, and now we're facing, we're going to have to cut something. So I just think we need to be financially thoughtful and not just say, well, it's going to be fine. I also really appreciate and hope we're going to continue to get the information that the fire department, gave at the last meeting, not every month, but yearly. It was wonderful to understand how many trips they made in a year. It's actually lower than last year's, and thankfully we know that because we were about to add a lot of income on the income side for this FY27 budget that we would never have gotten because it was based on getting like 400 more trips. So there's information that is not just helpful because I'm nosy and want to know it. It's helpful because it helps you folks budget appropriately and really understand what's going on so that we can not become unsustainable in this town. And again, we have a great case study in an institution that's hit a rock, and you can all read why. But I'm just saying, I'll go back to my question at the beginning. How are we going to get reliable and timely information, and what information are we going to get on expenses and revenues?
Thanks, Kate. I think, I'm not sure I can fully answer the question on the spot. I think I would say that the revenue side of things has improved a lot in the reporting in the last year. I'm sure there are improvements we can continue to make there, and if we find them, or if you help us find them, we will happily do them. On the expenses side, I think there are things we can do, but it is difficult. I mean, it's inherently, we're talking about multi-use personnel, and you can do it, but you have to make simplifying assumptions, and people may not agree on what the assumptions are for how an individual FTE, full-time equivalents, time is split between the two disciplines. So I think all of us up here are on board with trying to keep improving and making more clear how we report that. I don't know that I have way more detail on the expenses side right now. Yeah. Oh, no?
I was just going to say, like Oscar said, there can be disagreements with how you would break out the cost of of an EMS program from a fire department. It had been brought up to us through some of the private meetings about essentially the formula that is applied to that to report it to the federal government. But what I was going to say is I think that once we have a finance director hired, we can ask for some guidance from town staff as what the split in responsibility would be there between the finance director and the fire department to continue to bring us reports at regular intervals. And I think that would be a way to keep up with the updates. That would be broadly under our first recommendation of continue to make ongoing improvements to monthly reporting in collaboration with public feedback.
Thanks, Nell. John?
Yeah, and I kind of disagree with what's implied here. The information on the costs is all available on the town website under the EMS data, and the revenues and the expenses are reported out monthly, and that is the place to come to the board meeting to see where that is at every month. So.
Thanks, John. Yep. Any other questions? Bob?
So Bob Ozer, Brattleboro. So I didn't make it to the first meeting because a little confusion as to whether it had to be warned in the sense of being a subcommittee and all of that, and I was away that particular day. I did meet with one of the members of the subcommittee of the working group, which was really great and shared a lot of information, and think I got a good reception on that. Then I did go to the second meeting, which was the reading of the memo. So that was my involvement there. In a meeting that was totally unrelated to any of these meetings, I learned information that I then put in an email to the committee or to the working group. And at the second meeting, I think I was told that with respect to that information, I'm on the list, so that there should be some further feedback on at least one of those two items, and then subsequently came up with something else. The reason why I'm laying all that out is that I like the end of the report and continue to make ongoing improvements to monthly reporting and to look at some of these issues as they arise and then kind of work with them. So this may go against the motion that's not on the floor yet about dissolving the working group. But I'm wondering, what's the process, or who is the go-to people if you have a question today? So I'll leave it maybe at that.
Thanks, Bob. I would say, well, let's discuss the subcommittee part when we get to that motion. But I would say, if you have a question that you would like to be better answered, in my opinion, as you found out, you may have a better time if you get together with one of us. I'm sure any of us would be willing, get together one-on-one and can really explain it, and then I can say why I'm confused, and we can work it out and reach a full understanding. So I would, if I were in your shoes, I would reach out to an individual board member, and they can bring that up to the staff or the board, and we can go from there. But of course, you're welcome to contact the whole board or town staff at any point.
The answer will ultimately come from town staff, so I think, having spoken to John, I think it's, appropriate to reach out to John, and should there be further confusion or something, if sometimes it's a clear answer, like one of the questions was, where is the cost allocated to risk assessment for the, on the EMS data page, and the answer was that it was basically paid for in a previous fiscal year, spanning into this one, and that's why it wasn't on the pie chart. So that was fairly straightforward. Some of the things we get into with this can be more complicated. And that's as Oscar said, sometimes easier explained in a sit down. And I will happily continue to make myself available for that. But I think it's appropriate to keep John looped in, as he's the person to kind of delegate that through staff, right?
Yep, I'm happy to help. It's very easy to overcomplicate this stuff. It's not really that hard. And, I think the fire chief has done a good job on the website explaining the breakdown of all this. And I would encourage people to go take a look at that and decide about this for yourself.
Thanks, John. So we have a motion on the table to adopt the recommendations of the EMS subcommittee as presented. Are there any other comments or questions pertaining to that motion? Seeing none, I will ask the board for a vote. All in favor of the motion to adopt the recommendations of the EMS subcommittee as presented, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 That motion carries 5-0. And I would love a second motion.
I will motion to formally dissolve the EMS subcommittee.
Okay. Peter has moved to formally dissolve the EMS subcommittee. My only comment is that we didn't know when we formed the subcommittee that then we would be subject to open meeting law and all that stuff, and we thought it would make things easier, and it probably made things more complicated. So I am excited to formally dissolve the EMS subcommittee, though I think we did what we set out to do.
And it doesn't mean that there cannot be further work done on, essentially the issue of like public relations and conversations between town staff, select board members, and public about EMS. What it does mean is that Oscar and I can talk privately about EMS if we want.
Without warning it.
Without
yes.
worrying about what is substantive work in open meeting law.
Any questions or comments from the board on the motion? Or from the public? Seeing none, I assume you're ready for the vote. So all in favor of formally dissolving the EMS subcommittee, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries 5-0. And we are on to regular business item I, the BMH Birthing Center Letter of Support and Discussion. John, will you give us the 3 sentences?
Sure. Yeah, so this came about, I believe that the town was sent a bunch of materials that are in your backup packet, just, I think, right around or just prior to the Brattleboro Memorial Hospital's announcement of their plan to close the birthing center over the next 6 to 9 months. Then, when that announcement came out, members of the select board asked if we would put this on an upcoming agenda for discussion, along with a draft of a letter of support for those services in our town. And so that, I did put together a draft letter in your backup materials, and also included the information that you all had received by email so that the public could see that as well. And that is basically where we're at on this right now.
And there may also be a second letter. Is that?
Yes. Peter Case brought forward the idea of another letter, which was not included in your backup materials, but there were copies at your desk and copies over on Seth's table.
Okay, so let me just describe how I'd like to structure this. First of all, I'm sorry, I know I should know you. Kate Lucy, great. It looks like you would like to make a comment on this. I'd like to start by hearing about Peter's letter, and then a motion from the board, and then we'll open it up to comment.
So, I mean, this just sort of stemmed from, I don't know, I've probably been in like 5 meetings around this thing from fundraising efforts and what to do and how to slow it and how to save it and how to not lose this vital resource in our community. And, as a select board member, I was approached as maybe putting forth the effort to have the select board support this, and I kept saying, revenue solves a lot of problems. We can support it, but we can't bring you the revenue that you need. But what more can we do? So I think I just kind of woke up this morning with this idea, which sort of stemmed from something John and I kind of carpooled over to one of the bridge committees, and we were talking about this particular issue. And John had suggested maybe going around to some of the surrounding communities and letting them know what was happening and trying to garner support from those communities in some way, shape, or form with the understanding that they too probably don't have the budgetary resources to contribute, but power numbers. So I this morning woke up kind of motivated and put together a letter that I would like our select board to sign, that John can send out to each municipality in Windham County, asking for support, a partnership to preserve the birthing center. This is all here. I can read it if necessary, or we can just trust that people have read it.
Do we have copies on the table?
We do.
We do, great. Then I think it's okay not to read it.
Okay.
Unless you'd like to.
And, so we just want to reach out to every community that could be impacted by this, which is pretty vast when you think about the 40,000 people that live within Windham County, and that they would all be impacted by the closing of this birthing center. So this is a letter that I wanted to come from the direct board, from the select board, not a direction to the town manager to write on behalf of the select board, which is why I took the initiative to write it. And I would just ask that we would adopt this and sign it and put it in play.
Great, thank you, Peter. So we have, if someone would like to.
Let's read the letter.
Well,
You want to?
I think we
I had
should
a
read the
brief
letter
question.
for the
I was
record.
just,
Okay, hold on. Yeah, Nell,
I
what's
was,
your question?
well, I was just curious if we would send this out to municipalities in Windsor County as well, because there's been a lot of discussion of people that are serviced at BMH there, and especially some of the poignant stories that I've heard of people really traveling far to receive like prenatal care has been from Windsor County. And for the conversation surrounding like, well, you have to drive X amount of time to go receive this care. Like, these people are already driving, from Ludlow, from far away. I'm glad that you put this together, and I appreciate it. But I don't think we have to restrict it to Wyndham.
No, I mean, it's a more the merrier kind of thing. So,
That looks fairly unanimous consent to me, that the board would be okay with sending this letter beyond Windham County.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we need to send it a more formal letterhead and read.
I can put it on letterhead if you want,
And
and
then-
we can address it to individual boards as well, if you prefer that.
I think the more individualized we can make it, the better. Dear municipal leaders, we're just a placeholder.
So Amanda did suggest that you read the letter, so if you're willing, I don't think it's long.
No.
Yeah, the draft that John wrote in the memo, I think, is also a letter that should be sent on behalf of the town. And so for the public record, this is in the backup material so people can access it, but Peter's letter is not.
Yeah,
So that's why
it came in.
I thought reading it.
Early morning cup of coffee inspiration.
All right, so I think that's
All right.
a good idea. So if you're willing, this would be the supplementary letter that's not in the backup.
All right, and this would be just from just the five of us. The Brattleboro Selectboard is asking for your partnership in helping preserve the Brattleboro Memorial Birthing Center, an essential regional healthcare resource that serves families throughout southeastern Vermont and neighboring New Hampshire and Massachusetts. Our board understands that this is not simply Brattleboro's challenge. The birthing center belongs to all of us who rely on strong regional hospital and want to ensure that families can continue to access quality maternity care close to home. We recognize that every municipality is facing budget pressures and that we are not asking communities to shoulder another financial burden. Instead, we are asking for your leadership. Please help spread the word, encourage local businesses, civic organizations, foundations, residents to become involved and share ideas for fundraising, advocacy, community partnerships that can strengthen this effort. Whether it is hosting an event, connecting potential donors, engaging volunteers, or simply helping raise awareness, every contribution moves us closer to a solution. The loss of the birthing center would affect the entire region, not just expectant families, but employers, healthcare providers, and every community that depends on Brattleboro Memorial Hospital as a cornerstone of regional health care. This is an opportunity for our towns to come together around something that benefits us all. We invite you to join the conversation, share your ideas, and help build a broad community support needed to keep this vital service available for future generations. Could you join us in passing a resolution in supporting the birthing center services in Brattleboro. Together, we can demonstrate that when our region faces an important challenge, we respond as neighbors. And that would be what I would.
Thank you, Peter.
Yep.
My only question is, would it be worth including the potential to connect with the group that's kind of formed out of Next Gen that's putting a concerted effort towards fundraising?
The problem, I didn't want to get into kind of
Okay.
wordsmithing at all tonight. I just wanted to sort of get this out there. I think, to that point, refresh my memory. Does your letter mention Next Gen Initiative?
Not specifically. It was written, I think, before that started to
Okay.
come together. So.
I bring it up as a broad stroke, not to say let's finalize the wording, but only insofar as if it's like, if people, especially smaller towns, are receiving it and saying, yes, we need this resource, yes, or like people who live here need this resource, the amount of kind of lift it is to do a like fundraising support, to be able to say, here is something you can plug into, just like briefly. I think that could be less daunting.
I think it's coming from the town. I think we're all listed here.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm kind of good with the way it is right now. I appreciate your thought, though.
Great. Okay, so before we move forward, if we have an updated motion printed on the table in front of us that includes Peter's letter, if somebody would care to make it.
You want me to do it?
There.
To direct the town.
That's
this
new.
one. All right, I'll motion to direct the town manager to write letters of support and to work and collaborate with relevant partners to advocate for the continuation of obstetric services at the birthing center at Brattleboro Memorial Hospital, including the letter to municipal leaders in other towns and in the region as presented.
Great. Thank you, Peter. Peter has made the motion. Now, comments from the board, and then we'll take it to the public. Amanda?
Well, yeah, I'm in favor of asking John to write a letter. Thank you, Peter, for taking the initiative to reach out to other towns. I am aware that there are fundraising opportunities already, that the birthing center has already created, and that's out and about. And I imagine there's someone in the room tonight that will bring that up. And then, and also just to relay, there's a real coming together right now between legislative leaders and town leaders and community members to figure out a structure for more fundraising and advocacy. It strikes me that more time is needed, for sure. More time is needed to be able to, for the birthing center to be able to create efficiencies, revenue streams, and there's not enough time in 6 to 9 months by a long shot. So we hope to all get together and make this happen and support the work that's happening there. It's critical for our town.
Thanks, Amanda. Other comments? Isaac?
Yeah, the birthing center is a critical resource for our community, for families, for investment in the next generation, for our community's health and economic prosperity. So I'm deeply committed to this initiative and really appreciate this, both these draft letters, Peter and John, and support both of them.
Thanks, Isaac. Nell?
I mean, a lot of good things have been said that I could echo. I think I would like to express just my appreciation for everybody working at the birthing center who has been doing so much advocacy and just like giving their lifeblood to this for far longer than it's been on our radars, especially in its most pressing form as it is now. I'd like to express my appreciation to Kate Lucy, my neighbor, who brought this up to me and asked that we consider it for the agenda, such that it was able to get on the agenda in time for this meeting, because that timing was very, we heard about it and then it was like a day later or something that the closure was formally announced. and even further appreciation for the meetings that I've been able to sit in on since then that have shown such a strong collection of people from various like areas of our community and other communities coming together to say, okay, you know, here's what we need to get done. How do we get there? A lot of energy that's been really impressive and humbling to watch. And yeah, I mean, this is essential care. It's also life-saving care. You know, I'm somebody who has anatomy that if I didn't have like appropriate prenatal care or even, you know, delivery care, should I be a pregnant person, I would die. You know, like these are things that can't be overstated, how much it's like a medical field that already faces, I think, undue neglect, and that, you know, looking into the history, like going way back to the formation of obstetrics and gynecology, like there are so many amazing service providers in the field now, and there's had to be so much work to bring it up to where it needs to be for people of that anatomy. So it's something we can't do with any less of. So I appreciate, John, the time you took to write your letter. I appreciate, Peter, the time you took to write your letter, and everybody who's been involved up until this point.
Thank you, Nell. Peter, any other comments?
No, I kind of said enough. What do you think? I mean, we you know, the emphasis on, the funny thing is this is a next-gen initiative, right? This is a whole thing that John kind of pulled us all into a room, and we all, you know, chatted this thing through 25 deep, and I don't think it was until like the next morning when we realized it was weird that next gen was talking about something that directly impacted the next generation of folks born here. So, yeah, it's super important that we save this service.
Thanks, Peter. And for me, everyone's said it all, but it's critical. We can't afford to lose it, and we'll all have to work as hard as we can to make sure that we save it. So we have a motion on the floor. I'm going to open it up to public comment. I know there are people who have been waiting a long time, and I apologize for that. Is there someone who'd like to speak? Yes, please.
I'm Kate Lucy of Brattleboro. I had prepared some emotional and persuasive remarks for you all tonight that clearly are not necessary. You're many steps ahead of me, and I so appreciate this. In a moment of pure Vermont politics, I invited Nell under my cherry tree, and we ate sour cherries while we talked about this to get this on the agenda. And I'm amazed at the incredible ripple of support that we've received. I appreciate the reaching out to other towns and other counties. I do think this needs to be much, much bigger than just Little Brattleboro, because it is much bigger than Little Brattleboro. This is an issue that affects the state. This is an issue that affects healthcare across the country. And I appreciate you all thinking much bigger and putting pressure where it needs to be put to make big, lasting changes so that people can continue to have families safely in their towns. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thanks, Kate. Anyone else with a comment? Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Ellen Schwartz, District 8, Brattleboro, and I appreciate what you are, I think, about to do, and the incredible support that has been visible in this community since the announcement was made, and people coming together with the midwives and workers at the hospital, parents and future parents and past parents coming forward. It's really inspiring to me, and I also want to take a moment to just think about the bigger picture, because you guys are responsible for not just, like, right now there's this immediate crisis, which is we need to save this birthing center. We need this service here to serve people in Windham County, Windsor County, and beyond. And that's sort of the immediate thing. But I think there's a bigger issue with healthcare that is beyond the scope of this board. It's not something you guys can solve, but I think you can advocate with your with elected officials, just as we do, and with the governor, because big picture, I'm inspired by the fact that people want to do fundraising. I don't think we can fundraise our way out of the healthcare crisis. And I think that I'm concerned, I appreciate, Peter, in your letter, you talked about BMH as the cornerstone of regional healthcare. I think that is absolutely true. And if we lose not just the birthing center, but other unprofitable services at BMH, that cornerstone will have a lot of cracks in it. And unfortunately, the reason why the birthing center is at risk is because it doesn't make money. That's why it's at risk not just in Brattleboro, but all across the country. And there are other services that also don't make money. And as long as we have a healthcare system that sort of decides what gets to stay and what gets shut down based on that, we may save the birthing center this year, we may save it for the next 5 years, but some other part of that cornerstone is going to crumble. So my longer term plea to you all is to work with our state legislators, to talk with the governor, to use your influence as a board to try to create the stability for this hospital to remain in Brattleboro, providing all the services it provides, including, the birthing services are, as other people have said, really vital. I won't repeat what people said, but there are other vital services that our hospital provides, and we need it here, and we need it to be strong and resilient. Thank you.
Thanks, Helen. Other comments? Frick?
Frick's Bright District 9, I like what Helen said. As you guys all know, I'm an advocate for our putting our healthcare dollars directly to the services and taking the profit out of it. We have an opportunity here to, perhaps starting with this letter, but not stopping with it, because we can't, in fact, fundraise our way out of this problem. We really need to find smarter, more efficient, more local, resilient ways to provide health care and to provide health insurance. And I think this is the crack in the door that I would urge you guys to explore blowing all the way open. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Yes, Dick.
Yes, thank you. Dick DeGray, Brattleboro. Yes, I think not only sending Peter's letter, but John's letter to not only our local legislators, but our regional legislators that are in Windham County. This isn't just the Brattleboro issue. And also to Becca Balin, Peter Welch, and Senator Sanders, and certainly along with the governor. I would agree that, this is the first step. There was a rumor, again, this is not factual. Somebody says, well, maybe the oncology department is looking to be next. Our hospital has had some issues the past few years, and we are the regional hub, and that needs to be realized by our legislators. And I'm familiar with a lot of stuff going on up in Burlington because I spend a lot of time up there, and that they just 176 positions, I believe, up in Burlington, and that's a huge, huge number of people that will be displaced. And that number compared to here, I look at whatever number we have here, that's going to have a huge impact. Just like Vermont Yankee, when Vermont Yankee closed, had Entergy, had a huge impact in our region. So this is more than just sending out a letter. You got to get in there and fight. You got to go and talk to people, and you got to crawl, and you got you got to do whatever you need to do to say, listen, this is important to our community. When you read the statistics in the backup material, it's run as a loss leader. And most birthing centers are. But most of us were born in a birthing center. So, you know, we need to maintain that. Not that most of us in this room are going to have any more children, but the people behind us, and that's what we're fighting for, is the people behind us, and not the ones ahead of us. So I encourage you to do everything you can do in this effort, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in the community, if you ask, will help you in that endeavor. Thank you.
Thanks, Dick. I do want to say, just personally, I'm really glad that members of the public have brought the bigger picture into this, because that's really important, and it does, I mean, every now and then I'm reminded of how absurd it is to have to think about healthcare in terms of profitability, and this is certainly a sobering reminder of that. And I can say with confidence that all 5 of us on this board have personal networks. We have people we know, people we talk to, and I'm confident that all of us will be doing everything we can personally outside of these meetings also to try to you know, make this work out, and work out in the bigger picture as well. So
I think for us as an entity, as a board, and also for, you know, everyone in the audience and everyone watching and all of us as voters, right? It's something we can all pay attention to for the November 4th election.
certainly.
I want to take the opportunity as well to just give a shout out to John Potter.
Yes, please.
Because we had approved as a board your Next Gen initiative, the Next Gen initiative with the Next Gen group. And just to make it public, so Next Gen is a collaborative consortium of civic leaders, public agencies, businesses, nonprofit organizations in the community committed to strengthening Greater Brattleboro's shared economy. This multi-sector partnership is aligned around the foundational goal of increasing the Brattleboro area's population of young families and working-age people, which are an essential indicator and driver of our collective well-being. So this is the first opportunity. A crisis came, and a group got together. I mean, I think there were 25 of us in the room. From the community, ready to hop on board and make a difference. And without the Next Gen initiative, spearheaded by John, it wouldn't have been that simple. It would have been cold calls and a lot of explanation. So this is a real win for the beginning of that program.
Thanks, Amanda. Yeah.
Thanks, that's a great thing to call out. Thank you, Amanda. So we have a motion on the table. Yes, I see one more hand in the audience. Please.
Angela Snow from Brattleboro. I'll admit this is my first select board meeting, so.
Welcome.
I had a handful of friends and other parents that were going to come, but were understandably deterred by the 9, so I said I'd show up and say I'm a mom that's staying up late for supporting the birthing center, and thought I'd say now that I agree with adding kind of a direct, here's what you could do website, or pointing that I think here's small town fundraise and the kind of nebulous, daunting idea of that. Priority not holding up the letter, please do that. But if there's a way to kind of direct something that someone can do without building it from the ground, because that's been done, I think that's a good idea. And I think there's so many reasons that I'm feeling called to action, and people have been talking about it. And of course, the care for the moms and the babies. I think I hear a lot and talk about, like, Vermont is the second oldest state, and we want young people here, and we want to grow. But thinking about the bigger picture, and that piece, I think, is a really big part of this conversation. That this does not say that, and would be a great way to say that is that we all stand up and find a way to do something, which seems very daunting, but this is a great step. So thank you.
Thanks, Angela.
I will also add that a press conference is being formed on that topic, and for everyone to appear for that at a date to be determined in the very near future. There's a meeting tomorrow morning that Peter and I will both be on, about scheduling that and rolling out an initiative for action. So stay tuned. There'll be a press release about it. So, yeah.
Thanks, Amanda. And Isaac, you had a...
Yeah, just in light of what Angela just shared and what we've heard from others about the importance of really engaging our governor, our state legislature, would you be open, Peter, to our adding in the website for the action website that's been created for this campaign to save the hospital? Yeah. Great.
That
Can
looks...
Can I just say the name of the website?
Sure, please.
It's savebirth@bmh.org.
Savebirth@bmh.org.
There is an action page that lists who to call, how to reach them, upcoming events that you can join in to show your support, all different ways that people can act right away, starting tonight.
Fantastic. Thank you. And that looked like unanimous consent from the board to add that to the letter. Okay. Yes.
And the one other thing I would say, just inspired by what we heard, is that I would be interested in our sending a letter at some point in a future meeting we could review to the governor and to our legislative leaders as well in support of this. And in the meantime, having directing the town manager to send a copy of this letter to the governor and perhaps the Windham County and Windsor County senators.
Mm-hmm. And also the Green Mountain Care Board. That's another place to outreach to.
Okay, so motion-wise...
Is that covered under relevant partners?
I think so, yes. Write letters of town support to relevant partners. I think we...
Yeah, I tried to make it broad, and
Excellent.
as you have
Great.
additional ideas, just let me know.
Great.
So-
Okay, great. So I'd like to bring it back to the board for a vote. We have a motion on the table to direct the town manager to write letters of town support and to work and collaborate with relevant partners to advocate for the continuation of obstetric services at the birthing center at Brattleboro Memorial Hospital, including a letter to municipal leaders in the other towns in the region as presented. We ready for that vote?
Mm-hmm.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. And we will move on to our final item of the night, which is committee appointments. We have several. None of them today are contested.
We propose a slate.
I would love it if you would propose a slate.
You want me to do that now?
Yeah, do you want me to read them, or? I will read the nominees, and then we can propose them. Someone can move to nominate them as a slate as presented. So we would be appointing Alexandria Tupper to the ADA Advisory Committee, Kevin O'Brien and Gretchen Cowan to the Conservation Commission, Maya Hasagawa and Mitchell Hall to the Development Review Board, Daniel Hardy to the Handy to the Planning Commission, Todd Pacheco to the Recreation and Parks Board, John Wilmerding to the Senior Solutions Advisory Council, and Eric Karen to be Weigher of Coal. Eric is already the Weigher. Could you?
He's already on.
Oh, that might have been done at the last meeting. I don't
Yeah,
know.
we did appoint it at the last
Okay.
meeting, and that's probably why Eric's name isn't blue in the backup materials.
Oh, it was.
Oh, there's blue?
Sorry, blue on the,
Yeah.
there's no link to it in our digital fancy.
Well, let's
link.
omit Eric from that list.
All right, I will motion that we propose that we approve this as slate as presented.
Okay,
Or,
Pete?
Yeah, we're
That's
just
great.
removing them, so as presented, yeah.
Peter has moved to approve that slate of names, appoint that slate of names to those committees as presented. Any discussion by the board or the public? Yes, Frick.
Rick Sprite, District 9. I have some concern about the Police Oversight Committee, whatever it's called. It's not
Citizens-
mentioned tonight, but my understanding is that it hasn't actually been functioning at all. And I was wondering if anybody here had any insight into why that was the case and what could be done about it.
Thank you. I think that's beyond the scope of our agenda item tonight, which is just to make the appointments, but we can definitely look into that
Are
and
there
follow up.
vacancies on that committee?
There are two
There are
vacancies.
vacancies, but no applicants.
There are 2 vacancies and 5 total members, so it would suggest 3 active members and 2 open seats.
And nobody knows when they last met.
We haven't prepared that for this meeting. We're just making the appointments.
I think the members' emails would be listed, right? Like,
I would
at
think
least
all
the
that
members
would be on the
listed
website.
the same way, so they could be reached out to.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the slate of names to these committees. Any other questions from the public? Board, you ready for the vote? All in favor of the slate as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. And now,
But before the final motion,
Yes.
I just have to say, I think we agreed on everything tonight. It was 5-0 votes on every single item. That's the first time.
that's
It's happened since we've been a
Ominous.
new board.
Thank you.
Ominous, that's terrific.
Thank you, Amanda. One final motion.
Anyway,
from
I move
somebody.
to adjourn.
Amanda moves to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carries 5-0. We are adjourned. Thank you all. Thank you, John. Thank you, Seth.
I thought you were
Thank you, BCTV. To adjourn? Yeah. Just for fun?
Keep going, just for fun.
We're ahead of time. We should
We
adjourn.
agreed on everything. We
What do you got for
agreed on
us?
everything.
I don't know if we need to.
And I think I'll.